Now before we get to the next step, are you kind of imagining what's going to happen here? Once I get everything installed, I gotta lift that whole entire thing up to the ceiling. Okay, that's another reason why on the particular ceiling fans, the other ceiling fans I normally do, where they're required to install the ceiling fan blades last, well, right before the light kit, let's say, or something like that. I like to do that after it's installed, because then it makes it easier for me to lift the entire thing up here and hang it. Do you see what I mean? I go up the ladder easier. I don't have all these blades in my way and all that kind of stuff. Okay? But for this particular one, not the case, is it? Okay? So I'm just going to have to be mindful of that. I can do it. I can do it. But it's going to be kind of slightly tricky. But I'll do it. Okay, so the next thing we got to do is we've got to take this knuckle off. This is called the knuckle. And see, it's got that little, there's a pin in there that slides. The ground wire, obviously I don't have to do anything with the ground wire. So remember that little side screw I was telling you about? Okay, we've got to loosen that. All you're doing is loosening that screw from the side. See, it's actually made an indentation right there. So when I get ready to put this back together, I'm going to want to put it right where it's at. Okay, right where it's at before. I could take this and slide it all the way around, and it would still fit in here. But then I don't have the little that little mark. Okay, that's just from the factory, and I like to do that because that gives me a little bit more oomph for this screw to set in there. When I retighten up that screw, there's only so tight you can get it, and see, that one's got a slot on it too. So I'll take my screwdriver and put it on there. See this little pin? It slips out, and you're like, oh no, how's that going to fit? Well, there's a little notch in here where once you have that exactly centered, for me to slide this up, it fits in there, see? And it goes right where it needs to be before I tighten that back up, okay? But for right now, we're going to pull this out, and I'm going to take this off. And in fact, in order for me to take this off all the way, I've got to take the little cotter pin out. So I just pull on that. Make sure you don't lose that, okay? Okay, so I'm gonna keep that stuff off to the side. I'm gonna pull this off of there because you remember, we got to have that knuckle out of the way in order for me to put the trim housing, has to fit on here and all that kind of good stuff. And so this is going to have to be screwed on those threads. Okay, so now I'm just working with this. If you look at the directions, you just follow the directions. It tells you the same things, what I'm doing here. Okay, make sure I put this in with the threads facing down. And like I say, certain ceiling fans go in certain ways, so you just have to double check yours. Make sure you get your threads going on there and you don't cross thread it. This should go, see, now I'm actually screwing this down here, and I have to screw that down far enough to get this pin with the cotter pin has to slip through there, okay? So I've got to get that down there. And it looks like I might have, okay, I think I screwed it too far that first time. Looks like it's right there. We'll see. And see that only gets you so tight. They don't want you to screw this tight, because if you screw that tight, you're not going to line it up. Years ago, they might have only had you do this tight and have two little screws that went into here, screwed into your threads, and that was it. Without this pin and the cotter on the back side, those two screws came loose, this could start backing out. Okay, so I think I might have to unscrew it one more turn so I can slip it in there. And now I've got to fish it through. Remember, we've got the whole harness coming up, so I just have to kind of move that a little bit and see. Might have to take that back, pooch that down, and see, try to fish it through there. If it's not going to go that way, I can maybe try that way. See, it just went right through. Okay. Now I take my little cotter pin and put that on there. I don't think it matters whether or not you have it facing up or down on the cotter. Let's just face it up. Okay. Now this is slightly loose, right? That's where these other screws with the nut. Remember this on there. And I want to screw that down almost all the way, but if I have a little bit of a gap, maybe a 1/16 or less than a 1/16 left, tighten it down to there. There he has it. This other one, I should be able to tighten it down to there too, right? And that should have it sticking straight up. Okay. Well, this nut is on there. This nut is on there kind of tight, so I'm just going to hang on to the nut so I can get the screw loose, like that. Okay. And I want to make that about a 1/16 or so, fingernail, thumbnail amount. Okay, you with me so far? And I remember there's two areas for the screws. Make sure you get it in there. Okay, and before I tighten it, again, do not tighten it yet, right? I leave them loose. I try to make it so that these screws are the same, and the nut is about the same. I could have the nut tight to the head of the screw first off, if I want, because when I tighten it, I've got to grab that with a tiny pair of pliers, right? And so before I tighten it, this had a little bit of a slop, right? And so I want to try to make it snug, and I don't want to tighten one screw up all the way, because if I screw it all the way, I'm going to push this all the way that way. You see what I mean? Once I tighten this screw. Now, when I tighten that screw, this is always going to be slightly off. Same thing if I tighten this screw on this side. If I tighten this screw all the way, I'm going to have that pushed that way too far. I'm trying to keep this straight up and down, okay, to the best that you can. And so if I have this snug where I think, and this one, I should be about lined up the same, right? Now I've taken this just about all the slop out of there, so now it's getting there. So I just want this snug. Now I can do this just snug. Okay? Now I can do this one just a hair tighter. Do this one just a hair tighter. You see the theme here? That's allowing me to feel comfortable knowing I got this coming up as straight as I can. Okay? And don't kid yourself. You get these screws really super tight, and guess what? I'll just get a bigger screwdriver, and I'll just get my ratcheted drill and ram that baby in there. I'll get it tight. And son of a gun, you strip it, you snap this right off, you twist the screw, shank of the screw, and you break it right off tight, and you're like, oh brother, I just messed up. Okay, that's the last thing you want to do. So now I'm going to take my standard screwdriver and just make it snug. Okay, and I can tell I can turn it just ever so little bit more than I could my Phillips. Okay, and you're like, what are these nuts for? They're not doing anything. I'm just spinning the nut. Well, now that the screw is tight, I can take the nut and go right down to the base now, see? Now, I'm going to have to take a little pair of a little crescent wrench. That's what I call a crescent wrench. Some people call it a spanner wrench. And I'm going to see if I can't get that on there. Okay, I could. And again, I only want to make it snug. I don't want to overdo it. Okay? If I overdo it, I could break the screw off. Again, with that. I'm just making it what I think. That is supposed to keep your screw from loosening up. Okay? Does that make sense? All right. I think I've done it. All right. I'm looking at that, and it looks like I've got just a hair more slop on this side than I do on this one. And if I really wanted to do something about that, what could I do? Should we fix it? Let's fix it. Dabbing at it. Okay, take my pliers. So it tells me this screw I need to screw in further, right? And I don't know. I mean, that's the theory anyways, okay? But I thought I had that pretty good to begin with. And it's based on how these threads were cut, how the other threads were cut, and all that. So, okay, I've tightened that just a hair. I'm not gonna mess with it anymore. Okay, I feel pretty good. And lots of times when I run ceiling fans, I don't necessarily like to run ceiling fans on high as much as medium speed. Medium speed is fine. How much air do you really need? My word. The faster you got it running continuously, the more likely in a very short amount of time you're going to have that ceiling fan wobbling. Okay, because something is going to get loose. Okay? Alright, so there, we've done that. Okay? Let's get on to the next step. Well, I can cross that one off my list. That's all I got for this time. But I'll be back with more videos.